hurts what the left's supposed to be about because some people see that fakeness and they're like, oh, why would I be part of the left? Why would I care about anything you're saying when you're that much of a hypocrite? You know what I mean? That's why
I don't like it.
the duopoly thing will never work.
No, I don't like hypocrisy. Like for me, that's why I kind of for a minute started to think, okay, I guess I'm part of, the right, the free speech, anti-war. And then October 7th happened. I realized like, oh, I'm not part of this party. Now I see these Republicans, their whole interest, a lot of them is for Israel before the American people. So it's like, there's no way I'm voting for them. But then the Democrats, they're no better. So it's like at this point, I'm not voting unless someone steps in. I like you're Thomas Massie. I like him. You have any thoughts on him? Or I don't know all those issues,
I have
but he's going hard against.
I think I like he challenges his party. Yeah, I think Thomas Massie is definitely the best among them. I have strong disagreements on his economic policies, obviously, but I love the fact that he challenges AIPAC, he's anti-war. I won't complain on him. Like I got, a lot, I heard he had a lot of cringe things. Like what he said about healthcare is very cringe. And he's like, well,
Yeah,
if we have universal healthcare, you will make doctors will be enslaved. I'm like, if you don't want to treat people, don't be a doctor. Like that's just how. Like the same way, if you're a firefighter and you like, man, I don't want to take that person. I don't want to take out the fire and that person. I'll fuck that guy. You should be a
I'm not
firefighter.
taking that call.
Yeah. So
That's a good point.
I have some complaints about Thomas Massie about that stuff, but I don't want to hate on him too much because he is the best among.
He's the best of the options right now. Like you said, maybe you have to rally behind someone that's the best of the options if they're really going against the Zionist thing. For me, temporarily, I would go against someone that I didn't like some of their policies if they were, going hard against the Zionist. And then you can say about those things later. But no, that's a good point with the doctors. Like how you use a fireman, like, oh, I don't want to take that fire. Or you could do, like I said earlier, like private hospitals and public hospitals. There's no reason why you couldn't do a split between the two. It's not like I think you do that in Canada.
Yeah, and doctors internationally who are under a single payer healthcare system, they much prefer that. Like, do you guys think doctors love doing the massive paperwork that
Oh,
involves
they hate the insurance stuff. A lot of times they'll give you like big breaks when you go cash and shit because they don't like, do it. I don't go to the hospital that much. So I'd prefer, just not have.
I haven't been to a doctor in 15 years. My strategy is make sure I don't eat horribly and stay in.
Exactly. We should look at taking care of ourselves. That's another thing too. We should take care of ourselves first. Like I say, okay, yeah, we should have free healthcare, but we shouldn't be relying upon it. And I think maybe this for-profit hospital is part of the problem. They want to give them on drugs. They don't want people to eat ways. They want them obese. They want them eating like shit. So they keep coming in. So they're not trying to cure the disease. They're just trying to, keep them coming back month after month.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why I think single payer is the best option because it helps with preventive care. Ultimately, and that's why many studies show that private healthcare turns out to be more expensive because people can't afford preventive care, which leads to more expensive treatment later on. So yeah, 100%. I think with once again this part of the whole pro family policy thing, like if you uh, paying people a living wage, if people actually will have time off and engage in training. I know many people they work so hard, but in order to pay their rent, they have to work 2-3 jobs. They don't have time to go to the gym like that. And then in order to eat, they gotta eat out of the vending machine. They eat junk food. I think, and I think this is important. What I advocate for, I think what any working class movement should advocate for is a strong pro health agenda. And so whenever I heard RFK Jr. talk about make America healthy again, I was 100% all for that. You know what I mean? And people who truly on the left should be for that. We would just ask, like, what are the economic policies that would enable that? Do people have access to healthcare? Do people have access to physical therapy? Do people have access to training? I think these are all ideas that we can agree on and we can help cultivate and not very available to the American working class right
No,
now.
I think, yeah. And food, the healthy food is a lot more expensive. Like the cheap food, that is super unhealthy. So you go to these, like the black communities, you go there, look at all the McDonald's, same thing in poor white areas. It's just absolute shit foods who don't have good options. These are the kinds of things that you try to subsidize, get jiu-jitsu programs for these kids in these poor areas, and I say poor areas instead of just black areas because I think it should be all poor kids, if you have something to, when I was a kid, I couldn't go train in the shakes and, luckily I got wrestling, which is cheap, but if you don't have money, you can't go train jiu-jitsu and stuff as a kid. And jiu-jitsu gyms are expensive. So it's like, you can't there ain't no way the poor people are sending their kids to those gyms. But if you get these kids doing something, a lot of times that's when you stay out of trouble. When I was young, I was getting in trouble. Once I started jiu-jitsu and fighting, I stopped getting in trouble because I had something to focus on.
Yeah.
So a lot of young men, they just need something to focus on.
Yeah, I was very lucky that I started training jiu-jitsu like the best time before it got stupid expensive. Like now, like jiu-jitsu training is crazy. But once again, I was big into MMA during the Pride era, and I used to love Nogueira. I used to watch Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. I trained jiu-jitsu because of that, and that was like the best time to get into. Now it's like crazy expensive. I think that's one of the things that, and this is what I advocate on my channel, Revolutionary Black, how mutual aid comes in many different forms. Mutual aid is not charity; it's how we build community. One thing I do, I'll provide free training to people. I come from boxing. Give free training to people in your community. That's a great way to bond with each other. That's a great way to keep people out of trouble. And that's one of the biggest things that harm the black community, the lack of that. The NBA like really turned basketball to like a bourgeoisie sport where like all these kids you see in the NBA, they're all rich. They all come from rich families, and now like there's like a barrier of entry in a lot of these sports. And this happened over the last few decades of the barrier of entry between the communities. People being separated, being pulled farther apart. Well, advocating what I think is the most important is community, coming together as a community, not trusting over oligarchs, not trusting overlords, not allowing them to distract us over with nonsense and not engaging in false beefs, but communicating with each other, teaching each other skills, having going back to the communal style that the ruling class never wanted us to live, because it's easier to keep us separated and divided otherwise, right?
Oh yeah, they want you with no community, and the community is absolutely crucial. I get it through jujitsu and fighting. I think a lot of people. I'm not religious, but I think church was good for a lot of people because they all went in. They went with their
Yeah.
community. They would get together. They would stay there. And now, recently, like I said, the families have gotten broken down both in the black and the white communities. Most black people don't. Most white people don't have these large families either. A lot of times they have a father in the home, but they don't have this large family networks we used to have 100 years ago. And the community, the ties, like people are missing this. That's why depression, drug abuse is so high. For me, thankfully, for you train jitsu and stuff, there's a huge community there. But humans need this, and it's missing. I think that's something we need to work on rebuilding, especially for young people. Like, I grew up more of a poor white area, there's Native Americans and stuff.